All right, so I got back from Vegas last night late, and today I've decided to go ahead and drop my thoughts on the wrestling weekend, mostly with AEW Double or Nothing 2023. I've been to 2022 and 2023 shows. I was indeed in Vegas for this one. Not only was I in Vegas, but I was literally in about 80% of the shots on this show. If you watch the show during the hard cam, when the hard cam is focused on the ring for the most part, and if you're watching the high definition widescreen version, in the upper right corner of the screen, you're going to see a guy with a black shirt, yellow letters. It's a Link to the Past shirt, the Zelda Link to the Past shirt, with a black and red hat. It's kind of gray, so black and gray and red hat, and glasses on. That is me. I am on this show all over it, especially when the Elite Brawl is happening literally right in front of me. Right next to me, if you look, like the easiest way to spot me is you see me, and if you see I'm with this girl who's kind of short, Spanish girl, dark hair, with like a pink hat and like a green flower on top of the hat. That's me right there. So I'm all over this freaking show. So if you want to go see me marking out over Double J, all the other things I was marking out over, as well as having a good time, that's me. This show was a good time. I was kind of confused, but not really, to find out that people at home didn't like this show. A lot of folks did not like this show. I don't really know why. I mean, yes, there were a couple of matches that did not work for me, namely the women's match and the TBS title match. And it's not because they're women, that is not the issue. It's just that the women's match, which is the Jamie Hayter versus Tony Storm match, apparently Hayter was injured, so they kept it short. Ultimately, I wasn't too bummed out about it because I wasn't really into the angle that much, but nevertheless, Jamie Hayter was apparently hurt, so they went home early. But either way, I think it worked out because Tony Storm being with Saraya and Ruby Soho, it gives that heel faction more heat, and I did enjoy that. That they're getting more heat, so that's good. Now, then we had the other match that I don't think really worked for the crowd at home, which I get, which is the Jade Cargill Taya Valkyrie TBS title match. I thought the match itself wasn't even that bad. I liked it. Jade Cargill has improved tremendously without question, but she's still not quite at the level of being a quote unquote champion. But I understand the TBS title was done kind of to establish her. And when she won the match, she went 60-0. And then we had a very WWE like moment take place. But what's interesting about this moment is that it worked for me. The crowd live loved it, even though a lot of folks were kind of upset because they wanted Chris Statlander to chase Jade Cargill, you know what I mean, and to kind of try to be the champion, by chasing her, as opposed to, having her come back and win in a very much money in the bank type of situation. Something WWE does a lot more than AEW. But again, I do think it worked here, even though it was Jade Cargill's first loss. But they're starting a new program with Chris Statlander, so why not start it off hot? Before the finish to the Taya Valkyrie match, we saw some guys roll up the confetti. Like literally in my section, you can see that they put the confetti right next to the aisleway, right next to the corner of the ring, and I wasn't sure why. I was like, wait a minute, is Taya Valkyrie really going to defeat Jade Cargill? No, it was all done for Chris Statlander. And the minute that smart Mark Sterling said, you know, that there's nobody left, and then she showed up, like before she even showed up, once he said, in wrestling, it's a rule. The minute you say that we've beaten everyone, there's no one left, that's when, you know, that's that's when somebody shows up. You know what I'm saying? So that was that. Now, besides that, the other match that didn't really get too over live was Adam Cole and Chris Jericho in an unsanctioned match. Maybe it's just me, and I could be wrong, but it's just my opinion. I feel like Jericho and Adam Cole, because they're such great wrestlers and great personalities, that they could have had a match that I think would have been better if it was just a singles match. Like, am I wrong about that? Don't you think that they had just a one-on-one good wrestling match without the weapons, it would have worked out better. Maybe I'm wrong, but I just feel like Jericho Adam Cole 1-on-1 worked better. But I didn't hate this match. The crowd was not that into it. I loved what they were doing, but my favorite moment of all has to be Sabu. Sabu, who I have loved since I was a little kid. Sabu, who I have wanted to see do a table spot for I don't know how long, and I may have seen him do it in TNA once or twice, but I don't really remember. This may have been the first time I've ever seen Sabu do a table spot, and because I had seats that were so close to the ring, because I was in like the 6th row, I mean, I was right there. You can see me, by the way, like I mentioned in the upper right corner of the screen, I'm in the first riser up in the front, like I'm there. But anyways, because of this being like the first time I've seen Sabu do a table spot like this, I lost it because I freaking love Sabu. Oh my God. Adam Cole wins the match, but the feud continued later because Jericho and Paige challenged him and Britt Baker to a tag match. I guess it'd be a mixed tag match on Wednesday's Dynamite, so I'm excited about that. Now, the other matches on the card that I want to go over. First of all, the Hardys and Hook was on the pre-show against Ethan Page and the Guns. Man, Jeff Hardy's got to retire, dude. I am not so sure. Look, I was curious about Tony Khan hiring this guy, considering all of the personal problems that were going on that people were talking about the previous year. Then, of course, he has more personal problems, has to take almost a year off. He comes back, and now he's not looking so good, man. He did not look good in this match. Like, I don't know, man. I don't want something to happen to Jeff Hardy or one of his opponents. Maybe I'm over-exaggerating. Maybe he's had an off night. But if this becomes a pattern where Jeff is looking that bad, they may want to consider maybe cutting him off a bit sooner. I don't know, man. It just didn't really feel right. The rest of the match was fine for what it was, but it really took the match. It took me out of the match. The opening battle royal, the Blackjack battle royal, I didn't want Orange Cassidy to win, but besides that, this was so much fun. All the guys, Commander had an awesome moment. Shane Strickland had an awesome moment. Keith Lee. They were all just brawling. We were all cheering for the Lucha Bros. Cero Miedo, like, Rey Fenix is awesome as always. Like, I can't really pinpoint any specific moment that stuck out to me except for the guys who I just mentioned because there was so much going on. But this was a great, fun battle royal. This was a lot of fun. I love how they brawled around the ringside, too. That was pretty awesome. Orange Cassidy wins, but, I'm not a huge fan of his character, but it is what it is. Now, somebody who I am a huge character fan of, Jeff Jarrett with Karen Jarrett, which popped me. And, of course, Sanjay and Satnam Singh. And Jay Lethal versus FTR. FTR won in a great tag team match. This was a 20-minute tag team match that was literally a dedication to Memphis. Everything they did here, there were so many spots here. And then obviously you had FTR doing their modern type of tag team wrestling, which I love because FTR is the best tag team in the world. They can work any style with anybody. And they worked this sort of Memphis modern style where you had a mix of Memphis with Jeff Jarrett and Jay Lethal bringing in some of the Ring of Honor style, and it worked really well as a hybrid. I mean, this was so good. Nothing bad to say about that. Wardlow and Christian Cage. This was also a good match. Wardlow retains the title, comes off the top with this crazy Jeff Hardy-esque swanton. Who needs Jeff Hardy when you've got Wardlow, a guy 3 times his weight, doing a swanton on top of Jeff Hardy. Not on top of Jeff Hardy, on top of Christian. What the hell am I thinking? I was still thinking about Jeff Hardy, man. So Wardlow and Christian, the ladder spots weren't as crazy as some of the ones we've seen before, but Christian's also not as young. But there were enough crazy spots here. There was a spot where they basically broke the ladder when Wardlow came off the top with it. And it didn't come off good. Like, it came off like he might have been legit hurt. He wasn't, thankfully, but it's a big dude doing a ladder match, so that was kind of the attraction of it. But I think the idea here is to show that Wardlow can do anything. The interesting thing, though, is I don't think this feud with Christian is anywhere near. Like, one thing you can't deny, dude, is that Wardlow is nowhere near as hot as he was a year ago. A year ago, Wardlow was objectively the hottest, like, young babyface, like young babyface that AEW's had in a long time. I was that Double or Nothing last year. When he powerbombed MJF 10 times, dude, like, Wardlow really is, like, or really was super hot at that time. And then when he cut that promo saying he wanted to go for the TNT title, and then he kind of said, "Hey guys, I'm a mid-carder," it sort of ruined his push because the dude was on fire last year. The build-up from Revolution last year to Double or Nothing of their match with them, the MJF thing was great. But that could be because of how awesome MJF is more than Wardlow. Either way, he was hot at that time. The six-man match, the trios match, House of Black against the Acclaimed. This was an interesting match because while it was good and I liked some of the stuff they did, it really did feel like a conflict of styles because you had the Acclaimed there being wacky, being their usual selves, but they were able to keep up. Then you had the other team of, Buddy Matthews, Buddy Murphy. You had Malachi Black and you had Brody King, who are like these crazy awesome workhorses. But the two things that really stuck out to me was Max Caster's rap about Buddy being cucked by a guy named Dominic, and then also the Acclaim's rap, or the Platinum Max, when he said, "How can you have a House of Black with no black guys," or whatever. Like, that was pretty fun. Like, that was awesome, I thought. The Acclaimed in the House of Black, though, like I said, the match itself was fine. The other big standout was Billy Gunn, dude. Billy Gunn is a monster, and he's probably in the best shape of anybody from DX. I would say he is in the best shape of anybody, like right now, I mean, like Shawn, Triple H, Kevin Nash, Waltman. I respect them all, but if you see them, they're clearly just, even Road Dogg. They're just, tired guys who the road has owned them, as wrestling does to people. Billy Gunn still works like a damn workhorse. I mean, the dude's phenomenal, and he did great here. And then, he does his spots. He says the FU thing, and then he gets kicked in the face. And that was a good finish. Billy Gunn was the right guy to pin here. Now, the two main events completely stole the show. Completely stole the show. MJF, Sammy Guevara, Darby Allin, Jungle Boy all had their entrances. Sammy Guevara announced that he and Ty Mello were pregnant, which was great. Got a big reaction, kind of baby-faced him. I think that Darby was supposed to skate all the way down the aisle, like near where I'm at, and then get into the ring, but he didn't. He only did it halfway, probably because he couldn't maintain the momentum. So he got in there. And I only say that because the guys were setting him up prior to that. Like, I saw security guys, like, open up a pathway for him, make sure nobody was there for that reason. And then MJF had that throne entrance, and that was kind of cool. I did see Jungle Boy's mom and sister multiple times walk by, because where I was at, it went right to a hallway that went to the back curtain, or right to like the area before the back curtain, which is like where like the families would sit at. So apparently it's one of those two places they were going to. And I also saw Captain Dean Morgan there. Like, a bunch of other wrestlers were like basically walking between us. Or like walking in front of me. I mean, like, between me and the ring. So anyways, MJF wins in a phenomenal match. They teased several different things here. We saw some four-way spots, dude. This was one of the best four-ways, maybe the best I've ever seen. Like, I think about the great four-ways. Like, WrestleMania 2000 was a great four-way as far as drama goes. I think about some of the Lucha four-ways we've seen. I think about some of the tag team four-ways. I think about, TLC 3, for example. I think about, some great four corners matches. And there's been a ton of them, especially in Ring of Honor. This one had to be up there. This was probably the best four corners title match I've ever seen. Now, and yes, I am putting it above the WrestleMania 2000 match, even though that one had way more heat and way more drama. This one was still better because they were doing spots here, man. Like, they were coming up with some incredible stuff between the four of them. like incredible stuff. At one point they teased Jungle Boy actually using the belt to win, and then he just puts it down, which was sort of a mistake because he could have been the champion there because MJF was on the outside. He could have won the title right there, but he chose to take the good side, which is, of course, going to be, some would say a character flaw, some would say the right thing to do, but it's up to you because the character flaw aspect can become part of his next feud. I would like it if Jungle Boy was questioned about his decision. I would like it if somebody asked him, well, Jungle Boy, why did you not hit him with the title? And then have like a heel kind of make fun of him over it. And that could be his next program if they go down that road. I could see a Sammy Darby singles program, but they've already had so many matches that I'm not sure if that'll work. I think the four pillars idea worked. I think having MJF win was the right decision. I liked how they had put the belt on like the belt on the stomach of, I think it was Sammy, and then Darby came off the top with the coffin drop, and then he hit the belt, and then MJF side headlocked him over to get the 1-2-3. Loved it. MJF cheated, took advantage, but there's no DQs in these matches anyways, I don't think. So either way, he still cheated and he won, but he retained the right way. So great match. Then we had the Blackpool Combat Club versus the Elite Anarchy in the arena. And that's what it was. Complete anarchy. This is the one match that I have seen back on the pay-per-view. I did see some folks say that the pay-per-view's audio wasn't that good on their broadcast. I understand that. Live, people were into everything. But I will tell you this. The people were hot for the entire show, right? But I will say this was not a sellout. This was nowhere near a sellout. There were plenty of empty seats in that building. Plenty of empty seats, yo. Like, on the other side of the hard cam, yo, like, the wrestlers were, like, standing up, and obviously they're raising their hands toward the hard cam, but that's because they're told to. There's nobody there. And I mean that. There was, like, in the middle part where the hard cam is, there was a slew of empty seats. Now, I've been to Double or Nothing. I've been to Double or Nothing last year, and I went to All Out 2019. Now, in All Out 2019, I sat next to the hard cam because I was there for press, and I was able to get in as press. So I sat next to the hard cam, and it was way more packed. And that was the press section. There were way more people there. So I don't know if maybe AEW is just not a hot ticket right now. I mean, I thought the build-up to this show was really good. AEW just, I don't know. I think too much bad booking and too much of the problem with the Punk thing and all that stuff may have hurt them. Obviously, we'll see. We'll see if they can recover from this with CM Punk coming back at Collision next month. So we'll see what happens. But let's get back to the show. Blackpool Combat Club versus the Elite. Absolutely phenomenal match. Just incredible. They brawled everywhere, as many of you saw. I had to watch the TV version to see what they were doing around the arena. They did a lot of the final stuff in the ring. Tons of moments, like, for example, Hangman taking off his eye patch was a throwback to Mox's feud with Mox's match with Jericho when he took the eye patch off. Also, they did a lot of things that were reminiscent of the Kenny Mox feud. Tons of spots here and there. And they even did a thing where, like, there was moments, like there were, like, spots in the match that took us back to, like, Kenny and Hangman as a tag team and Kenny and Hangman as enemies. Because, they have all that history. Like, that's the good thing about this feud is that there's tons of history there. You've got, Claudio's history. With those guys, not much of it, but you got Brian and Mox, who really have tons of history with both Hangman and Kenny. And, of course, you got the Bucks there, who, I believe, wasn't Nick Jackson, like, Brian's second opponent or third opponent? It was one of the early opponents, I believe, I remember right. So there's a ton of history there. That was awesome. We saw, all kinds of stuff, man. Crazy spots for the table. We saw them whip out, like, I thought it was like a wrench or something. We saw pieces of, like, this lighting rig get used. Like, I don't know if it was lighting rig or the table. It was a piece of the table. chaos, just complete chaos. People were going absolutely nuts for it. They were playing Wild Thing in the arena live with the live band, and they were playing it while the fight was going on, and really for most of the fight, like well, no, about I say half of the match, until the Young Bucks went up there and double super kicked the lead singer, and that's what ended the song. So that was pretty clever how last year they knocked over the sound equipment and that ended the song. This year they double super kicked the singer. So what are they going to do next year? I guess we'll see about that if they do this again next year. But I like this match more than last year's, even though last year's was awesome. I liked this one more. Totally violent. They had the barbed wire. Then we saw, I forgot to mention, we had the thumbtacks in the mouth, thumbtacks on someone's foot. But then we saw the flaming super kick. I still don't know how they pulled off this effect. But basically, one of the Bucks, I don't remember who, hits a super kick, and you see like pyro come out of his foot, almost like into Claudio's face. I don't know how the hell they pulled that off. I don't know how they freaking pulled that one off. That was something to behold, let me tell you. It was just completely spectacular. It was great. It was a very good main event, and I love the finish. So Don Callis finally gets involved, and out comes a man in a mask that we all knew was going to be Konosuke Takeshita. Yes, his name is Takeshita. I know it's Takeshita, but Takeshita sounds funnier. So anyways, Takeshita is in there, and he ends up turning on Kenny Omega, joining up with Don Callis, which they teased a few weeks ago. This is not a huge surprise. There's been rumors of a Takeshita versus Kenny feud for quite some time now, and it looks like they're finally going to do it, and it looks like it's going to actually happen. So there we go. I like it. I could not have cared less about Takeshita. I thought he was a great athlete. He's got a lot of upside, but he really didn't do anything interesting. He was just out there having matches. And then all of a sudden now he joins up with Don Callis, one of my favorite talkers of all time, especially in AEW. A guy who, when he was with Kenny Omega, did nothing but enhance Kenny Omega's character. And I feel like Don Callis, I think Kenny as a baby face without Don Callis works because he's a better baby face than he is a heel. He's not the best talker, and the way he talks fits better for baby faces. But Don Callis with Takeshita, I think is going to do wonders for his character. And I'm excited to see where we go from here because I don't know if they're going to keep the Blackpool Combat Club feud going or if they're going to splinter off into different things and have the Kenny Omega feud with Konosuke be a one-on-one thing, or if they're going to do a thing where we see blood and guts or another AEW match, a big AEW match, and have that be like a 5-on-5 thing. But Kenny Omega, and I'm not sure if this made the pay-per-view, he did cut a promo afterward where he says that he's got some friends he's going to call outside of AEW to help him. So it's implied that Ibushi is coming and that the Golden Lovers will reunite. So if we have Kenny Omega teaming up with Ibushi against, or it could just be, not even just them teaming up. It could be Kenny and the Young Bucks, Hangman, and Ibushi, right? Those five against the Elite and Ibushi against the Blackpool Combat Club and Takeshita. I think that works. I think that could work. That could actually be a fun blood and guts. However, if that is the blood and guts match, I would not have that on pay-per-view. I would not have that on television. I would only have it on pay-per-view. I would only have that match on pay-per-view. Those are my thoughts. I do want to quickly talk about the Saudi show. I didn't see the NXT show yet, but I did see the Saudi show. Overall, a fun show. Some weird matches that weren't really necessary, I think, and some that weren't too great, but the show itself was fine. Seth and AJ rocked it. Cody and Brock was a pretty good little match, I liked it more than the Puerto Rico match at Backlash. I thought it was fine, told a great story. Cody still wants to wrestle Brock again. I'm sure it'll happen at some point in whatever match Brock wants. Well, I'm sure it'll be. It might be a fight pit match for all we know, but could be a Hell in a Cell. I mean, lots of things they could do there. And then, of course, we've got the main event. Sami Zayn teams up with Kevin Owens, their tag team champions, of course, against Roman Reigns and Solo. And everyone's talking about the finish. About how Jimmy Uso. Wait, was it Jimmy or Jay? I can't tell them apart, dude. I really can't. Well, anyways, Uso kicked. I know some of y'all can, but I can't. I always forget. Kicked Roman Reigns in the face. Look, I'm sure you saw it. If you didn't see it, go see it. I'm not going to go through this whole pay-per-view, but basically the Bloodline's in trouble. They're in deep trouble because the Usos are now about to be split off. Solo's there. Solo's the one that got pinned, but he is their brother. And then you've got Roman. So whatever story they're going to be building to in the next few weeks is going to be really interesting. We could see the Usos against Roman and Solo. We could see Roman one-on-one with any of the Usos, Jimmy or Jay. There's a lot of things they could do. So the drama and the storytelling coming out of SmackDown these next few weeks is going to be very, very interesting. So the Bloodline angle was honestly not as interesting after WrestleMania because, you know, the Roman wasn't around and Sammy was doing his own thing and Roman wasn't really involved. Then it got a little bit more interesting a few weeks ago when Roman and Solo were booked into this match. And now it's interesting again because now we all want to see what's going to happen with, you know, the future of the Bloodline. Will they end? Is Rikishi going to get involved? I think he will. And where are we going from here? Will The Rock ever do anything here? Like, not a match, but will he do anything? Like, what are they going to do with Roman Reigns? What are they going to do with the Usos? I'm interested to see what they do. So the week-to-week storytelling could end up continuing to be better and better, and I can't wait. Anyways, that's my review for AEW Double or Nothing and my thoughts on the Saudi show overall. Didn't go into too much depth, but it was fine for what it was. I didn't see the entire show either because I only saw the big matches. I kept going to the pool and the hot tub and coming back. But I mean, yeah. That to me was more important and it was worth it. Vegas is awesome. Take care, y'all. Take care. I'll see you soon.